Happy birthday, Jake.
Yeah, we're 1 year now. This is our 52nd weekly um, show, I guess, podcast, whatever. And we might have skipped a couple of weeks, so it's technically not right on the calendar, but who cares? Happy birthday to Turbo. This is the making of Turbo Pit Fighter, a comic book called Turbo Pit Fighter, and that we're making here online by broadcasting left and right, inking and pencils. My name's Jake Jacobs. I'm with my partner here, Kurt Brugel, and we are making a graphic novel in one comic at a time increments. Right here, I'm showing the first page of issue 2. There's going to be a splash page, and we were going to try to do a catch up. You're doing issue 1, which is the introductory issue,
The
and
teaser
shows.
issue. So
Yeah, well,
it's the
you're doing you.
first 6 pages of the story, including the cover, which was a pin-up that I had done. So
Uh,
yeah,
right.
we've got plenty. And then I did ooh. Let me share this. So this
Yeah.
is I just printed this out. This is on cream um, copy paper from Hammer Mill, and these were the 2 pages that I have finished.
Right.
And then this is we'll be printing the teaser on this paper, 2 of them, and it'll have 6 pages of the story, and then this cover, and then some info on the back. And we're gonna sell and
Yeah,
distribute
bring
them
that.
as teasers to get people kind of going about it.
Yeah, bring that page one up close for a second. Let's see some of that. I see. So you got the inks down, but then you went over it with a gray tone or
That's
something.
my water soluble graphite, and then I use
Right.
this funny little liquid mask marker I'm really into. So
Right. So yeah. So we are going to do a catch up on the story. This is a post-apocalyptic landscape here. We have this obviously this strong female character, Turbo. And she finds herself in pit fights to survive in this world that has all gone to shit. And you have this introductory scene where her parents get killed right in front of her, and then it kind of like segues into she's fighting in the pits, and she's older. So we have young Turbo and older Turbo that are both got these threads, threaded storylines. Um, in issue 2 right here, I'm on page 14 now, and I'm almost done. I have 2 more panels here for page 14 to go. Um, and just to catch people up, we just finished this battle sequence where these motorcycle berserker guys were chasing Turbo and Trophy in the van, in the ice cream van, and Turbo just beat the tar out of each and every one of them until the last one was gone.
how many pages was that
And
again?
that looked
That was like a
well.
seven page
We
foot chock full of action.
Right. Well, here we're gonna get kind of like a closely cropped preview of issue 2, but we got the splash page. Young Turbo is here at the checkpoint. There's a big explosion. She hoofs it to the pharmacy, the family pharmacy, where she is smuggling these radioactive peas in exchange for this package, which we don't know is. She has her encounter with Embra, and then as soon as Embra touches her face, it kind of triggers her flashback to come right back into reality. And we see Trophy Girl here is saying, Turbo, snap out of it. The Berserkers are almost on top of us. Look out the window here, and sure enough, they're bearing down on the van. There's a whole bunch of them in trucks and cars and motorcycles. So they unlock the jack chains, they pop a few wheels, and these guys have some nice explosions. Then they start jumping on top of the van, and She releases these tumble wire eggs. They smash through the window. There's a whole battle sequence here. She's popping this guy in the jaw. They jump on top of her. She flips him down in front of the wheels into a kind of bloody wreck here. Another guy jumps in and kicks the robot's arm off. The robot is her driver named Gopher. She yokes him and smashes the crap out of him here. She releases the little tumble wire eggs, and that trips up a couple more of these motorcycle guys. That leaves two here on the roof. One of them throws it into a Molotov cocktail. So we're already 1, 2, 3. So it starts here on page 2. No, page 5. And so we got page 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 so far. The firebomb goes off. She throws the guy into the fire, stops up some of the reactive, what do they call it, the accelerant, and she throws him out the back door into two guys. So nice spare there, and knocks them out. And then is this out of order? Yeah, this is out of order. It helps when you're in order, but then we still got 1, 2, 3, 4 guys on the ground and one guy on the roof. They stop short, and that sends the roof guy flying. Nearly misses by an arrow here. She jumps out and clotheslines two of these fuckers all at once. As soon as Trophy Girl slams on the brakes, they go flying. So now you have two guys left on the ground. One of them circles around and shoots her with a crossbow in her leg. The other guy's just about to spear her in the back, and that's when Trophy steps up and backs up the van into him and breaks his spine in 57 different places. Unfortunately, the tire gets blown out by their own jack chains here. Turbo jumps up on the roof. Now this guy has one arrow loaded, and he could either take out their remaining. They could either take out another tire, which would kind of strand them, or he could shoot at her. He chooses to shoot at her. She fakes him out and avoids it at the last second, and then she spins the mace, smashes him in the head, and follows up with a crushing hammer blow. So that was page 13. So page 5 to page 13, I think that's 8. And if my math is right, if I can do simple subtraction anymore. And page 14, we're just going to get a breather here, finally. And this is when they're going to put the tire back on, put the jack up the truck, put the spare on. They have one spare. And they're talking about, this is some house cleaning here. Spare unlocked. Fuel, 11.6%. How far to Mr. Ike's? 6 hours, 40 minutes. Mostly downhill from here. I got 7 P's from those bikes. Trophy adds in. Good, let's throw them in and keep moving before those jackals can regroup. Now the fuel level is up to 27%. And this voice is the handy gopher. That's always kind of like chiming in with information. It's like Jarvis. Okay, where are we going? This to see Mr. Ike. I have her handing Turbo a crossbow that she recovered. He's an old hand, a mechanic and weapons guy. And here I'm going to, looking at my rough, here I'm going to, again, go over that whenever she gets some kind of like loving attention, Trophy's going to say, oh, you're hurt again, you're bleeding. And then that's going to trigger her flashback to go back to the orphanage scene where Sister Ray is greeting Turbo after she had nowhere to go. She came to the orphanage. This was directly following issue 1, last page where you're at. She faked them all out. She stabbed a couple of those RM soldiers in the back and then fled for her life. So this is going to be young Turbo, and then this is going to start a long flashback sequence of young Turbo. So this is the process. You got your finished pages, you got your roughs, and then here you got your thumbnails. So this is, if you're a visual plotter, this is how you can lay out a comic. Just do all the action and some of the dialogue here. Um, and this is the page that I'm on right now.
And that's like
You can
20
see it's
years
a lot
old,
of
right?
different. No,
Were these recent
these
for the
are more
last year?
recent, but yeah, going back 20 years, I have typed notes and just and issue one, which you have, that was done 20 years ago.
Okay.
So this was all done in the last year, as because we doing this podcast, and I said, hey, Kurt, hey, why don't we just like do our pencils and ink side by side as we plan out the rest of the book, and we actually have planned out. Here you can see this is going to go from page 14 to these are lightly planned out because they're already planned out on bigger pages here in this book like this, just dragging you here into the process, right? So, but page 18, 19, 20, 21, we did all this in the last year when we were sitting here contemplating, hey, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? Page 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, and then 30 and 31 and 32, we're going to have the encounter with the unbeknownst one. And the inside back cover is going to be, I guess, a text page. So this is how this comic is getting made, issue one. And we're breaking it up into little teasers. Not only that, as we do this, we're also planning other comics too, which is exciting. Although we are going to, because the pace of our comic book page creation is slower than 1 week, one page, we are going to have to at some point enlist other artists and inkers and creators if we're going to get some of these other graphic novels and comic books off the ground before we die. But we're still pretty young, though, right, Kurt?
Yes, we are. Yeah, yeah. I'm
That we
54.
don't have canes. Yeah, yeah. I'm 56, so we don't have canes and wheelchairs yet, but we're actually still working. I think nowadays in the new economy you have to be like 70 to retire, so we got a ways to go here. We're spring chickens.
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, you're working on the ink page. What page are you up to on the? I know you kind of broke off to do the first 8 pages, but what page were you up to on the other in the later on in the book as far
21,
as your
21, which would be, as I'm getting, we'll probably do one more teaser that'll bring us out to like 12, page 12, and then we'll see how the teasers are responded to, and then, kind of go from there. Because definitely what we're learning and have been learning from this last year, um, a lot, we just don't know about in the landscape of how to distribute a comic book. Now, I was at an exhibit last night, locally here in Delaware. I have a piece in the show, and a lot of the people in the show are my friends. I actually have a student, Pat Higgins, who just released a comic called Pulp Bites, and I'm getting a copy of that. Um, and so we were just talking shop. He just signed up with Scout Comics. Of course, I didn't get a lot of details from him about it, but I told him about what we were doing. We were doing a podcast side by side, one day a week kind of thing on Sundays. But then when I mentioned the on the cheap home printed teaser, his eyes lit up. He went, "That's genius." And I was like, "Why?" Okay, it's a good idea, but why do you think it's a genius? He's like, "Well, it just helps put books into people's hands." And I was like, "Yep, that's exactly what I was thinking." And then further discussion with Jake, we're at that place. So, but that's why also we're doing the podcast, is not only to keep us on track and working and making, but we're hoping that the attention it gets to other people, they'll share some advice, some heads up, because I'm sure is not going to post right here and now, 52 episodes in, that I know everything about publishing a comic book.
right? Yeah, no, and it's also a changing landscape. When we put out comics in our younger days, there was a whole different distribution network, and now it's a lot of technology and a lot of, I think the comic scene has changed. There's a lot more. Well, there's a lot more cosplay for one thing, but there's conventions, and then there's retail stores, and then there's word of mouth. There are a couple of mall chains that sell comics now. I have one in my local mall, but my local mall is on the selling block, and who knows, what's going to happen. They might, they might wrecking ball the whole thing and make affordable housing or something. But that's the thing. You roll with the punches. I think as artists, we want to create something great, and I'm lucky that Kurt has a head for promotion and SEO, and has been keeping tabs on the industry. Because I just prefer to just put my head down and just
Hey,
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to my beautiful boy.
Welcome back, folks. Sorry we had a little technical issue, so we might not be picking up exactly where we left off. But again, just we're making this comic here live on the air, and we're planning, and we're thinking about where this comic is going to go once we have printed copies in hand, how to distribute and network nowadays. Um, I think I was telling Kurt that I'm happy to be working with him because he has a head for um, the industry, and the creator, the network, or the movement of creators, and how they're getting their wares into people's hands nowadays. And he's good with some technology and SEO, search engine optimization, and using various apps like Facebook and Instagram to build and build. But me, I really just I try to just take the time, whatever time I have, to just create and just churn out pages. You know, Jack Kirby's my hero, and Stan Lee is my hero, and Jack Kirby, is historically one of the most prolific comic book artists, that he was able for somehow to just crank out 3 titles a month. And we kind of study that process. But on the other hand, you also had Stan Lee, and his publisher above him, Martin Goodman, which was his, what was it? It was his aunt's
uncle.
husband.
Oh, his
Yeah,
wife.
well, his uncle-in-law. Yeah,
Yeah,
his
yeah.
aunt's husband. But there was also this other weird connection where Stanley's sister married Martin Goodman's brother, or something weird like that. There was like this other connection. So this family tree was like really convoluted. But what the combination of Stanley and Martin Goodman did, and a lot of publishers in those days, would be like they just had a lot of offerings, and they just had a lot of ideas. Some came to fruition. Some only came out and were published and were canceled. Um, but I keep calling it flood the zone. Like, hey, let's, if you have ideas, you know, make a sketch, make a pin up, put it on paper, make a title page, and you know, put it out there with with all your other stuff, and see what ends up clicking, with an audience, and take it as far as you can go. So with that, we're not just writing and drawing and inking this comic and publishing this comic, Turbo Pit Fighter, but we're also working on a prequel, Elevena, and then a prequel to that, Esoterra. And right now that's all just in the planning stages, just on paper. And another really fun series that we're talking about called B Movie She Devils, where we're going to have the turbulent life and times of a cult cinema movie maker and his team of 5 strong women, leading ladies, on and off camera who have all kinds of crazy adventures. So that's just a little recap of who we are, where we hope to go, and those are kind of like the products that we're intending to work on in the immediate future. So what what's the state of your I know you ordered a collection of B movies, or maybe they were like a lot of karate movies, right?
No, it
And
was a
are you
really good array of stuff. Everything from like high school kids stuff to karate to some horror. So yeah, I've got to send you that link um, so you can test whether you can see them or download them there. But yeah,
mhm,
it's the 20 exploitation um, movies from the 70s from Crown International. Um, oh, hey,
right?
I'll do a public I'm an idiot announcement. Um, so I've been totally looking for Russ Meyer, the Arrow collection, which is 19 DVDs. And right now they go for about 450 bucks. But I have like I just search the internet. I just every week I'll sit down and I'll just search the internet. Well, I found one for $141. So I sent them,
Okay,
excuse me, I sent them just to make sure it was all um, uh, 19
real,
of them because
legit,
sometimes I've seen, it says the Russ Meyer collection, but it's like 8 of them,
right?
for $210, and you're like, all right. So I sent them that, and they said they'd get back to me. The Amazon said they'd get back to me in 48 hours. Didn't hear back from them, so I started panicking a little bit. So I was like, screw it, I'm just gonna buy it, and I'll deal with it when I get I get when I get them. If I got to return
What?
them or so.
Right?
But the kind souls over there at called Zipaccord. They're out in Seattle. Sent me a message. You do know that this is a Region 2 set, which will not play on any. And I was like, oh my gosh. And he's like, do you still want it? And I was like, no. So
No,
I got a
no. But thanks for
refund.
the heads up.
Yeah, it was very,
Right.
very kind. But I am
So what
just
happened? You
so
missed
I'm
that
so
up on
anxious
the.
to get a hold of that collection.
Well, my friend, my old guitar player has the set, so we're okay. I just gotta get down there. He lives down the Jersey Shore, and I'm supposed to get down there as soon as I can. I don't know, maybe spring break is my next opportunity. Um, because I got to pick up a bass from him anyway that I'm picking up for a kid. Um, and yeah, I think he might let me borrow the whole thing, or I mean, I've already seen some of them, so I don't even need some of them. But yeah, I think he's got the whole. I think he's got the whole shebang. I'll find out, and of course, I could just mail them to you. But looking forward, yeah, I want to see Lorna. I haven't seen Motorcycle.
Yeah, that's one I
Um,
want to see.
I haven't seen Up. The one I did see Super Vixens recently. That was probably the last one I saw. And Russ Meyer, he's a little different from the others because his movies are. I mean, you could read a lot of reviews. Some people love him, some people hate him, but some of his movies are kind of like transcendent of any one subgenre. Like you'll be watching it and it's got like some drama, and then next thing you know, you'll be watching. It'll be like comedy, and then it just moves around in so many ways. Um, and of course, Beyond the Valley of the Dolls is the classic 20th Century Fox big budget studio movie that most people know that put him on the map. And Faster Pussycat Kill Kill is the biggest
The
cult
movie, yeah.
classic ever,
Yeah.
right? Hands down,
Hmm.
I would say.
Hmm.
But those are always good debates and arguments to get into it either way. So yeah, we think that it would be a great idea to make, because there's not too many comics that are put out in the vein of Russ Meyer and B movies in general. There's some that are out there, but not very many. And specifically like taking on like a Russ Meyer personality and kind of combining it with this theme that we have about strong women. Here you can see Turbo, right? She's no 98-pound weakling. So so we're kind of moving along on the scripting of that, and I have started to kind of block out some roughs on that too. And it's a project that I would love to maybe get some financing, at some point, and then hire a really good artist, and then turn over the script and start creating the first issue. But if not, we'll just have to wait till retirement where we can draw it ourselves and ink it ourselves and get to it all.
But that's the
In the
thing that
meantime,
we've
yeah,
really figured out for ourselves is that we're not trying to do anything other than the things that bring us the most joy and have always been, underground exploitation, um, you know, independent comics, things that are obviously off the beating track. But like nowadays, um,
sci-fi.
that's and that's not something that should be thought of as super cool or oh, what's that all about? I mean, it's kind of like it's come into the uh, society as a whole. It's being more and more accepted. But then I think a lot of the edges are not there anymore, or the edginess. And so that's where I start losing my
Well, you do
connection
have
to these younger people's books.
yeah, you do have some trends that are happening. And, if you go to a Comic Con, I mean, we've gone over it on this podcast about like the TNA comics, right?
Hmm.
And the kind of built-in audience you get just by making female characters with big boobs and upskirt angles and everything, and the just following the trend or following I guess the easy money. um but exploitation is more than that. Like exploitation has a real, I guess, sensibility. It's not just like prurient titillation. It's also it's bringing you value. Like there's a lot of tongue in cheek and campy, kitschy, stuff going on. Self aware. Quentin Tarantino picks up on it. His buddy Rodriguez, picks up on it. Um, and you don't see it that much in comics. But
Which is
we were
surprising is that
hoping to.
that's where a lot of this comes from is pulp and comics. The
Yes,
exploitation
the
stuffs. Cause
pulps did it.
yeah,
Yeah, the pulps had it,
yep.
but it doesn't translate to nowadays sequential comics. I
Or just
mean,
overall
the
stories
superhero
that you get
era took
nowadays in
a.
context. They're not they're not they're not I don't want to say shocking, but I guess that there's no better word than to describe it. It's like, oh crap. You said it last episode or so. Um, uh, you know, the thing of how they made an exploitation movie is they started with a poster design and
A
then worked
poster.
backwards.
Yeah,
But here we want to try to do that what was happening in that poster in a sequential comic book.
right. And yeah, I got this great book, and I still haven't even gone through it really. But
Those the exploitation
this
posters. Oh, the B
Yeah,
movie
this
posters.
the
Awesome, dude.
the art of the B movie poster. There's a bunch of books like this, but this really shows a lot of all the different subgenres, and yeah, a lot of times it depended on the movie. There used to be theaters, movie theaters that were connected to movie studios, and so
Yeah.
the theater was needed some features in there, to show, and so they would charge the movie studio with making it, and they were like, well, we have this movie coming out, but we want to show it as a double feature, so we need another movie. So you have like 6 weeks to make a movie, and that's what they used to do. And
And
they're like,
that's where
what
B
movie are we
movie
going to make?
comes
And they're like,
from.
well, we got that poster. Yeah, the B movie, right? And they're like, what are we going to make? And they're like, well, there's that poster hanging up for 3 months. All
Let's
right,
make
we'll
that.
make it that, and we'll call it yeah. We'll just make it match. So that was it. I mean, the exploitation, we keep saying, it wasn't, they're exploiting, women or exploiting violence, or they're exploiting the viewer,
Yeah.
right? We got you to come in and watch this, and
Yep.
now we're going to deliver you shit. um, and when there's plenty of podcasts that you can listen to now that they call it grindhouse, or they call it exploitation, or shock exploitation, or sexploitation, or black exploitation. But there's all these great podcasts now, and they go over these movies and they say the same thing over and over. They're like, well, this movie is awful, but it's still worth watching. There's a couple of cool scenes, and and people that are into this genre know what we're talking about. Like, when it's good, it's great, and when it's bad, it's awful. But you laugh at that because there's just like this forgiving sympathy. Like, these people were just throwing this stuff together as fast as they could,
Yeah, but I
and
think
in these
I'm a
conditions.
person that actually I enjoy it. I enjoy when somebody makes an honest attempt and maybe replicating something that they think they can do it, but the budget runs out and you end up with this schlocky, like half baked idea. But you could still appreciate it and say, oh, they gave that a wholehearted attempt at it, because they didn't have the immediacy or the length of shooting something digitally. It was all film, and they
Yeah,
had you only got so much length of film to shoot on, and so on and so forth. And like you said, time. You got 3 weeks to shoot this thing, or 3 days to shoot this thing out in the valley, or you just got to come to appreciate it. Once again, at this
yeah,
art show last night, another friend of mine was um, uh, it's at his frame shop, and he was in the back, and so his partner, I was like, oh, is Rick back there? He's like, yeah, yeah, go back and go get him because he's got to come out. I was like, okay, so I go back, and he has this big fake leg he made, and he was scribing on it the Necronomicon for a short 10-minute film that him and his buddy are making. So I was like, what the? So we
right.
just, and then absolutely, that's all we talked about for the night. The time that we were hanging, is not only are we like totally obsessed again because we're the same age, with the B movies and the exploitation stuff. He goes, but we spend more time watching the review of these movies than we do
Right,
actually
then the
watching
actual.
content, which I think is kind of a
Right.
funny thing too. But yeah, so it's all exciting.
Yeah, it's exciting, and there's a process to that too. I mean, making a B movie comic is a little different. I'm trying to think about it cinematically. So there's a vehicle um that I decided on employing, where we're just going to start the first issue by showing the movie within the comic, and that gets difficult sometimes because you want like a montage. Well, how do you do that? You want like some movement, like a pan or a zoom or something. How do you do that? So you're gonna have to use like two-dimensional versions of that. But what I decided to do was I said, like, I'm going to make this a presentation of the comic, and then as soon as the movie's over, there's going to be another scene outside the movie where the actresses and the Russ Meyer character, who we're going to call Rube Maynard, have an adventure before the comic is over. So you're out of the movie. You're dealing with the actors, the actresses and the director and the cast and crew, but there's something just as wacky going on. I was thinking I'm going to have like a disgruntled actor that was cut from the film after the premiere go crazy and stab Rube in the ass, and then the women have to dispatch him, to protect him, and he, like, the guy just goes crazy. But that's just like one idea, like, because I was thinking about, how to present this, and I definitely am going to be presenting a narration in the voice of the lead actress of the first movie, who I'm calling Chantel, and she's going to be describing everything that happened behind the scenes as we lay out the movie in panels with regular action and dialogue. And I'm trying to keep that as short as possible, so it's not like paragraphs and paragraphs of reading. It's just like sentences. But I think I think it's going to be a really great way of laying this thing out. And the first movie is going to be called Hypno-mania, and it's going to go over how the Rube Maynard character met Chantel, the actress, to create this B movie called Hypno-mania, where she's hypnotized by this creepy guy and turned into a criminal, to commit crimes on his behalf, and then she ends up going to prison. So the first, maybe maybe the first, like, 15 minutes of the film would be out of the prison, and the rest would be in the prison and then busting out of the prison. But it's all coming together, and I think I'm on page 8 already. And as far as full script, dialogue, and everything, and then I just kind of switched over to this. Where is it? Right here, because I realized I think I have to lay these roughs out like I'm doing the other comic. And it kind of flows for a while, and then you come to these like stopping points where you kind of like hit a wall, and you're like, I need to speak to somebody and get some advice, or I need to take some time off and come back to it. But I have this scene where the woman that gets hypnotized is going to be having dreams, and she's going to be having all these great dreams of her flying around and having adventures, and she doesn't realize, but in real life, that's when she's committing crimes. And so she's hypnotized to think like she's doing the right thing. And here I have, there's a car outside of her window playing the song on a tape recorder that is triggering her, and then she pops up in her sleep, saying, I understand. And then we kind of segue into the dream sequence where she's flying through the air. And I wasn't going to make her like a super heroine with a mask on like Robin, but I think I'd rather make her like an angel flying in the sky. And then here there's like a
Like
locomotive
Brazil?
train, and here's maybe, yeah, a little bit like that imagery, because I didn't want to just make it superhero. I didn't think Rube Maynard would do anything superhero-ish. So she'll be like an angel flying in the sky, and then she hears on page 8, she hears help, help, and she goes, and there's up on a crane. There's a damsel in distress who's all tied up, and she's dangling from the hook of a crane. So she flies over and sees that there's this kind of like evil clown Joker type character in the crane. So she rips off the door, and she has a gun. He has a gun, but she said, you can't hurt me with that, because she just feels impervious in this dream. So he says, but I can hurt her, and he shoots the girl hanging from the hook. No, you wouldn't. Stop it, stop it. So then she's pummeling the guy, and he's got this distorted face, stare into the face of evil, right? And then she just keeps pummeling him, and she starts choking him. And you know and then there's a voice saying, "Get him, faster, harder, kill, kill, do it." Right? That's obviously a reference. Faster, kill, kill. Um, and then the guy's head pops into a whole bunch of butterflies, and and then the voice in her head is saying, "You did it, you did it," and then it's going to segue. So now she's coming out of the dream, and and so here we see like some weird thing where she's going through a tube, or she's going through like, I don't know, some kind of like, spin. She's spinning around like Dorothy and Toto or something, and all these faces are spinning around. This is where it's hard to do in a comic what you want to do in the movie. But she's gonna wake up with her eyes here in these hypno disc designs. You did it, you did it, you did it, you did it, huh? You did it. Where am I? And she wakes up in her real bed with blood all over her hands, and she says,
Uh-oh.
"What happened to my hands?" And this is where where I'm kind of stuck. Um, where am I? Where's, So she goes out into the main room because she just rents a room. Where's Miss Finsecker? She goes into the shower, cleans up, and when she comes out, this is where I think the cops are going to grab her. And Miss Finsecker's outside in her bathrobe saying, "There she is." And that's what I have. And the next thing, she's going to go to the prison. We're just going to cut through all this stuff, but in the description, in the director's cut, I am going to have this like description of, yeah, there was a scene where I was meeting a lawyer in like in a cell, and and the lawyer was this Shakespearean actor, but he got into an argument with Rube, and they almost came to blows, and Rube threw him out. And once the guy said, "I'm a Shakespearean actor," he says, "Fuck you." And then he says, "Get out of here, get out of my, studio or whatever." And then the guy is like really disgruntled. So they ended up cutting that scene, and they basically just show her getting off the prison bus, which which is kind of like an homage or an ode to some of these women's prison movies that I've been watching, where they do show like the lady getting caught doing the crime, and then next thing you know, she's coming onto a prison bus. So she's coming out of a prison bus, into the jail, her new home. So I am going to skip that, but have a description of why we're skipping that. Because things come together in these movies in weird ways, and so that's where I'm at, and I'm going to start the first scene in the prison, where she's going to meet these junkie hookers. And I wanted to ask you, I was gonna make like one older and one younger, and they're both like hooked up with this pimp guy who's gonna bust them out in the later in the climactic scene. But I was thinking, like, what do you think if I made them mother and daughter? Is that like
Oh, I like that.
too much? You like that?
Is that like what? Is
So the
that too
mother and daughter
much?
locked up. Yeah.
Well, you can at this point, I think implied is always a good testing place. Because that's, one of the uh, twisted part of definitely sex exploitation in the 70s was the incest thing. So, or implying something could,
Well, there's no
would, or
incest.
might happen.
No, well, the
Right,
pimp could be
right.
running the
But it's
daughter
the
but it's implied. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
it's implied. I'm just like it's just as soon as you make these two
Right. I
characters
mean, if there's a mom,
related.
yeah, I mean, they're going to die in a fireball at the end. So, they're all disposable, characters in the movie. Um, and they're not muscle women, so they're just like, actresses that pass through Ruth Maynard's, clutches, for the making of this movie,
Yeah, yeah.
which is like a prison movie called Hypno-mania. It doesn't, but I have that as a note, and I also took some other notes, um, where, what was it? Oh yeah, I want to somehow have a scene, because I'm like, what am I going to do in these prison sequences? So she'll go in, she'll meet, some of these characters, right off the bat, there's going to be this crew of like obese women, like really morbidly obese women, who run the whole place, and they don't like her right off the bat because she's muscular, and so that is going to translate into themes in the real life where muscular women are considered freaks in 1961. That's when the movie takes place, the comic takes place, and you know, um, there'll be some kind of like foreshadowing that they're going to eventually come to blows with this crew of women, and Chantel's going to get on the side of these other women who are oppressed, these junkies, and maybe a couple of other like you know entourage people. But I was going to have so there'll be like some fights, and it'll all ratchet up, and then there'll also be some abuse from the guards. And I haven't thought about what the guards are going to be like yet. Should we make them women? Should we make them male? If you have any input on that.
Well,
Um,
one of the things I want to jump over to, because I think we're kind of coming at the 45-minute mark, or we're over it. We like to keep this bite-sized, but I've been thinking, and I suggested it maybe once or twice, but so we're doing a turbo um, teaser right now. So it'll be 6 pages of story, and then the cover, and it'll be home printed on this cream paper. But
Turbo teaser.
turbo teaser. But it doesn't mean that we can't leap over and put a teaser together for B movie She Devils. Now, what I'm really
Well,
bringing into, let me finish, is
yeah, we got to have an ad for sure. Yeah.
well, is that we have the opportunity to turn Turbo Pit Fighter into kind of like an anthology book. So this is going to be up for next year's discussion as we start completing at least the teaser and start working into another teaser, whether it's Turbo or whatever. But that's one of the things we're starting to face, is that we have so many ideas, we have so much we want to be committed to as we're moving forward, that hell, let's just go ahead and put an anthology book
Right.
together once we have enough teasers to fill the anthology book,
Well,
and
the
maybe some
teaser.
other stuff too from other people.
Yeah. Well, the teaser could definitely be an anthology because instead of 8 pages, you can make it 12 or whatever. But the problem I think with getting the B movie thing off the ground is we need an artist. We need to put together some pages, and until we find a collaborator for that, whether they're paid or whether they're working on as a partnership or some other kind of deal that we structure, um we don't have the capacity. We're making about a page a week, on a good week. I mean, we've been doing this for a year. I'm on page 14. you
Yeah,
know
14 pages
because,
in 1 year. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, well, I mean,
so
we're figuring it out, and that's what this podcast is about.
uh-huh.
As much as I think even I would like us to be a lot more in the way of production value, I think we have even reached an understanding that this is what our production value is. It's just two guys, as I've also said, I'm hanging out at Jake's house, and the two of us after school
Right.
are just hanging out. We're talking shit, and we're making stuff too. And then
We're making stuff,
it's
and
gonna go from there. So, I mean, as much
yeah, I
as
mean, I'm
you might want it to be all laid out, thought out, and we just have to do the work and release it, and all the fans will buy. I think the reality is, until this is a lot more um, being a priority in our
solidified.
lives, we've just got to go with it, and we're not going anywhere. That's the most important thing. This is only year one, and let's just take a moment and pat each other on the back for making it this far. I've watched
Yes,
so
we're
many
weekend warrior.
podcasts, and they start and then they flutter and then they try to come back and then they're gone. And it most definitely is the insurmountable amount of work that goes in with right now zero response, zero monies being made, so on and so forth. Now we are getting a little bit of
Yeah.
traction because we've been getting comments. And if you have made comments in the past, thank you so very much, because it really does help us keep moving forward. Just the comments right now. And if you have
Right.
any comments,
Yeah.
and the comments have
Yeah.
been,
We love
love
being
black and
updated.
white comics, love your art, love your story, can't wait, when can I get a copy, blah, blah, blah. Those are the comments we've been getting. So thank you, thank you, thank you for those who make it this far in our videos. And we call you a turbo knot. But that's what I have for today,
Yeah.
Jake. And a happy birthday. What do you got for these kids as we head out?
Yeah, so I was just gonna respond. I like the idea of maybe for the teasers putting out some story and art for Turbo, and then maybe we could stick some text in the back because this thing is being scripted. You know, if we want to do like a B movie and bring people into it,
Well, I got a better
maybe
idea,
just
but
kind
keep
of
going, keep going.
serialize.
We'll release it later. The idea, I got it. But go, keep going. Sorry,
Yeah,
sorry, sorry.
Yeah, so we could just serialize the script and then have like a pulp cover. So that will be like some some Turbo comics, and then in the back you definitely get the the prose or text descriptions, stories, and you're starting to bring people into the B movie idea. So there's that, and then yeah, just to finish up for this week. I'm almost done with this page. I think I'm gonna finish this page before I get up off the table today
Okay.
and then start page 15. But
Mm,
we are definitely weekend warriors, and just so we're clear about this, we've been making maybe a third of a page or a half a page a week, um, and we are intending to make this into a graphic novel, beginning with a comic book of 32 pages, and we're going to release it a little bit at a time in these teasers things, but. There will be comics, there will be graphic novels. It's just going to take a while.
yes. All right. Well, with that being said, once again, thank you for making it this far. Stick with us because Jake and I are going nowhere till the end, and we're going to make these silly little comics, and we're going to have a good time. And we want to build a community around people that feel the same and feel the same in the way that there's not enough of this stuff out there. So here you go. Join in
Yep.
with us.
Yep, and that reminds me. Yeah, we did receive an inquiry from somebody who's making a comic, and we are going to maybe do a mini review or some
Hmm.
kind of plug or link or something. But we appreciate sci-fi, we appreciate exploitation stuff, fantasy stuff, whatever. If you're making something, even if you're in like superheroes or funny animals or something, and you're watching us, drop us a line and say hi.
Yeah. Awesome, Jake. All right, buddy. I'll see you next week.
All right, man. Be cool.